And here is a real killer. We're running into, there are a lot of killers here. This one pretty much slays the Apollo mission. This is this one is going to be specifically Apollo 11. Okay, before we get into that though, let's look at some footage of spacecraft orbiting planets. Okay, this is the shuttles orbiting Earth. Okay, planetary objects. And these are 5-second intervals for each of these frames from this video. And you can see that things move very quickly. Okay, I should have actually done that more smoothly. Things move very quickly out of the field of view, and certainly out of the center of the field of view. Nothing stays put, okay? Because any spacecraft orbiting Earth or the Moon would be moving literally thousands of miles an hour. It's not hanging around. This is allegedly a spacecraft, the Selene. I think it's the Selene Moon Explorer or whatever it's called, orbiting the Moon. Now, I have serious doubts about the authenticity of this. This terrain, I think, is fake, but certainly the orbital motion is realistic. Okay, so let's go through that. Now, watch that big crater coming from the top. Okay, I'll run through it one more time. Again, things are moving quickly out of the field of view. Even within the field of view, they're moving very quickly. Okay. And then finally, here's an Apollo 10. Here's footage from Apollo 10, which preceded Apollo 11. And here things move out of the field literally in 2 or 3 frames. Within 3 frames, things are gone. You can hardly even keep track of them. All right. We're talking about just seconds, just a few seconds in any given in the field of view for a particular object. Now this is a footage. This is supposed to be live footage of Apollo 11 as it was starting to orbit the Moon when it first arrived there. And so I'll read this. A live broadcast of the Apollo 11 spacecraft allegedly orbiting the Moon for the first time. The craft's movement shown here is nothing like the completely smooth, unidirectional motion of the craft in the preceding videos, where things on the ground very quickly moved out of view. Imagine a rifle bullet with a tiny camera on it. And as a matter of fact, the Apollo 11 spacecraft was supposedly orbiting the Moon at twice the speed of a rifle bullet. And here's Frank Reynolds and his sidekick analyzing and commentating on what's going on. And I'm going to run through just 3 frames quickly. And these, like the others, are all 5-second intervals to show you a couple things. First of all, look at the quality of this video. It's ridiculous. Why couldn't they show you clear pictures, something like these from the lunar orbiter spacecraft, or one of the lunar orbiters, which orbited the Moon and took photographs before Apollo? Okay. Secondly, I want to orient you. This is Haldane crater here, and this is Schubert and Bach. Okay, these are going to be the craters we're going to focus on at first. Haldane, Schubert, and Bach. Okay, so now let's watch what happens. There's Haldane, a very unique-looking crater, and here's the larger scene. There's Haldane, Schubert, and Bach, and then they're going to move from top to bottom here, which is actually from east to west. Okay. All right. Finally, let's go through the scene. Now notice how erratic the motion is. They're zooming in and out, so that confuses things even more. But what I want to really point out is how long those two craters, Schubert and Bach, these two craters here, were in this field of view. They were in that field of view for 3 minutes. Okay, I'll speed up to get to the beginning again, and we'll see. I'll show you again. Okay, here's the first frame where Schubert and Bach are clearly in the scene, in the field of view. Okay, the field of view is simply the distance across this window that they're looking through. Okay, so there's Schubert and Bach at the bottom, and they're going to stay there. Actually, they're going to skip over to Haldane, going in the wrong direction, by the way. But when they come back down, they're still over Schubert and Bach. There's Schubert and Bach near the top there. There it is in the middle again, going back to the top. Finally, they leave Schubert and Bach. And this is an impossibility because they couldn't have hung around over those two craters for 3 minutes. Here's Schubert and Bach, and together they're 60 miles in length from both of them together are 60 miles in length. The field of view is only twice that distance, which is 120 miles. Schubert and Bach are 60 miles, okay? And the orbital speed is 1 mile per second, okay? 3,600 miles per hour, which works out to 1 mile per second. So that field of view that they were looking at should have and would have been covered in 120 seconds, okay, 2 minutes. Instead, and you can go back and look at the times, but I've already done that, they covered it in 180 seconds. They took a full minute too long to cover that ground. And compare the length of time for any given object in the same field of view for the space shuttle, 30 seconds, Selene, 20 seconds, Apollo 10 seconds. Okay, so here's an illustration of what's happening. The field of view is 120 miles. Okay, we can measure that. I did measure that. So in and because the speed is 1 mile per second, in 120 seconds, they've gone 120 miles, and they're looking at an entirely new field of view with an entirely new set of objects. There should be nothing if this is the second field of view, there would be nothing in it. They would have been from the first field of view, I'm sorry. Okay, an entirely new field of view. They went not only 120 seconds, they went 180 seconds. They supposedly would have moved 180 miles, all right? So they would have left whatever was here at first in the field of view they would have left it a long time ago, all right? Schubert and Bach would no longer be in the field of view after 120 seconds, much less 180 seconds. The spacecraft stays over crater Schubert and Bach, moving only very gradually for 3 minutes, an impossibility given what should be its extremely fast and constant orbital motion. In reality, the two craters would have disappeared from the field of view much sooner, after 2 minutes. Continuing, the spacecraft then sits completely motionless, an even more flagrant impossibility, directly over another crater, starting at this time here, 1 hour, 13 minutes, 30 seconds, for 1.5 minutes. Overall, the spacecraft's motion is ridiculously erratic, both in speed and direction. Clearly not orbital motion at all. So we're going to continue, okay? And now we're going to be over these 3 craters here, or this set of craters. Okay, that's going to be what's prominent in the field now. All right, so here we were, or they were, Schubert and Bach were at the bottom of the field of view. They moved to the top of the field of view because they're moving, now the spacecraft is over here, and now it's going to be over these 3 craters, and it's going to continue moving west. So watch what happens here. They sit over that crater for a while. Now watch this crater right here. Okay, it's going to move into the center of the field of view, and watch what happens after that. There it is in the center of the field of view. It stays in the center of the field of view for a minute and a half. It doesn't move at all. In other words, the Apollo 11 spacecraft is not moving until finally they leave. They hovered over that crater, which is a complete impossibility because there is no hovering in orbit. It's like a rock flying around the moon. It's literally, that's what an orbit is. Okay, and they had no technology to be hovering over the moon. They were showing us, what they were showing us was filming of a model. They were not orbiting the moon, period.